That was, you know, the commotion that preceded, you know, the Speaker gaining entrance into the House of Representatives. What eventually happened? Because we do know that there was a sit-in, you will say, in spite of the fact that the Senate President had ordered that the Assembly be closed.
I think we need to get this very clear, and I think, remember, the public is being fed wrongly with these things that are happening. Immediately, we got access to the complex. We went straight to the chambers, even though we defied all the tear gas that had been thrown. And you had to see members closing their nose so that the effect of the tear gas would not be much. We got access into the chambers eventually, forced our way into the chambers, sat down. There was one item agenda according to the notice that invited us. And you couldn't, by our practice, discuss any other issue outside that item. And we settled down. At some point when we were trying to settle down, the Senate President walked in to the chambers and excused the Speaker with the Deputy Speaker. They had a private session for like 5 minutes behind, that's in the clerk's office. Then he returned. The Speaker returned back to his seat, and the Senate President walked back to his complex.
But some people were almost, in fact, some of the paper's account is that the Speaker was harassed by the supporters, I beg your pardon, the Senate President was harassed by supporters of the Speaker. No,
I think we're just trying to, what they call it, make a lot of issues out of it. The Senate President, the Senate and of course the House of Representatives had, since the 7th Assembly had come, that I know, had never had cause to disagree. And the Senate President, feeling concerned that this kind of development was happening, moved down to the House wing to see the Speaker.
Well, you did hear some members saying, what is he doing here?
Yeah, because, I mean, in 360 members, emotions could happen. Some people got traumatized coming in, and in a crowded situation like that, just anything can happen. But that is not to say that the House has a position against the Senate President. No. But because that could be individuals. And of course, even the individuals themselves, the honorable member who was speaking could just one honorable member out of 360 members.
But there was another man who we saw there. Is he an honorable member? Because his shirt was unbuttoned, and he looked as though he was running after the Senate President while he left, as though he was going to...
No, he didn't go. It's a member of the House, but he didn't go after the Senate President. I mean, Senate President, I read a lot of accounts, Senate President being harassed, some people even say Senate President was slapped and that kind of thing. The Senate President, as the leader of the National Assembly, came in there to see the Speaker, to find out things for himself. He could have sat down in his office and said, okay, let's hold a meeting, but he decided to come down to see the Speaker and at least ascertain, and saw that, okay, the day's business was going to be considered. And he walked back. And at that point, members went to an executive session. And in the executive session, the Speaker, as much as possible, had to apologize to members for the way and manner they came into the chambers, and said we should allow national interest prevail in taking our decisions.
So should we take it then that it was only the members who tried to come in with the Speaker?
It's only the members, only the members.
Just a moment.
Only the members.
Only the members who tried to come in with the Speaker about the time he was coming in that had to go through this ordeal.
Yeah,
well,
even afterwards, because the gate was closed. I think members, what they call it, before then, it was a long queue before we arrived in there. And when we arrived, everybody was waiting for his turn to get in. It was when it was a turn of the Speaker to get in that this whole drama started.
So members of the Senate, for instance, because we do know that the Senate was also supposed to...
No, anybody that was caught within that time would go through this kind of experience, definitely. Because in a bid to stopping just one individual, several other people will have to face that music. And of course, if it was the case of mistaken identity, the man was there with his car, with the crest of his office, and he came down with his car and said, I am so person. I am the Speaker of this Assembly. Can you allow me get in to have access and perform my duties? Nobody was answering.
Mr. Mohammed, were the members of the House of Representatives trying to prove anything? I mean, if you're being stopped from gaining access, you saw that the police is a lawful institution. and they're stopping you from gaining access. Couldn't you have, okay, since you're stopping us, we'll go back. We won't deliberate on this request of the president.
Well, unfortunately, if you have, that's why you don't start a wrong thing. Because when you start something very wrong, and that appears very suspicious, a lot of things don't follow the right, what they call it, standards any longer. They aren't trying to prove anything, rather than if I have to come to my house and you have to stop me from coming into my house, at least for the period being 4 years, I've been voted, and the assembly is part of my, whether there's sitting, there's no sitting, I would have some other duties to perform, for instance, and I'm being stopped from entering there. It's an effrontery. And don't forget that in 2011, when the speaker was to be sworn in, this kind of scenario played itself. For the first time, some of us who were just getting into the assembly fresh, we were stopped from getting at the foyer, trying to enter the chambers, not for any other reason. They virtually forced themselves in there. And this was a repeat of what had happened. And I'm not rationalizing the conduct of my colleagues in this matter, but of course I must say that that is why it is difficult, or it's not right, to start any action. Because when you're starting an action, you should look at the reaction.
Yeah, but there's this question also related to this response from Onogu, who says, are lawmakers allowed to disobey the law the way they did yesterday in a democracy? Because some others are saying, well, that they expect that, or they had thought that the lawmakers had provisions to sanction the police if they find them out of order.
In a very ideal environment. I must say, unfortunately, we're not running an ideal environment in this case. This is a country where 7 lawmakers purportedly impeached, in an assembly of about 24, purportedly impeached the speaker, whereas you need about 18 to form a 2-third majority. It's a country where 3 lawmakers sat down and were trying to impeach the speaker, the governor of a state. And if it had happened, it would have just gone like that. In the history of this country, 3 lawmakers at some point impeached a whole governor. So as students of history, you must be guided by these developments. And you need to, as much as possible, be on guard. Because this democracy is hard-earned. Some people fought for it. No, some individuals shouldn't be allowed to sit down because of certain personal ambitions and run us aground. There should be people who should be able to stand up and talk.
Okay, well, we had actually, yes, they released a statement, the police, stating their reason why they did what they did. But we also reached out to the police force public relations officer. We expected them to be here today, but at the moment they are not able to make the show today. But they still have an open invitation if they would like to come forward and just state their version of what transpired. But the way it turned out, and the lawmakers, that report said they overpowered the police and then eventually got access to the house. Some even thought that, look, anything could have gone wrong if, we have accidental discharge on a regular basis. So that conduct, if something had gone wrong, it would have been a lot worse than other people thought.
Chamberlain, let me tell you something. If the house has hierarchy, we have a format of passing information. If you are aware that we are coming for a special session, you can communicate. The Commissioner of Police, the FCT, can communicate to the Speaker or the Senate President to say, because of XYZ reasons, we would operate in a different format while members are getting. We need to screen members when they're getting in. Everybody's minds will be prepared. That's 1. 2, even if it is spontaneous, there is a laid-down rule, identification. All of us have our ID cards. We are not encouraging the fact that you should allow people who are not members to come into the chambers. No, the chambers is a temple. And we believe that the sanctity of the temple must be respected. And we believe that the police should do its job. But in doing their job, where it appears terribly discriminatory or it intended to work to an answer, people will begin to raise questions.
But couldn't the Speaker have placed a call to the IG saying, look, I'm trying to get access to the chamber. your men are stopping me. Do they have direct orders? Are you the one who's giving this instruction? Don't you think it would have been perhaps a better alternative to have tried first before the members forced their way into the House?
Yeah, but let me tell you, I wouldn't, yeah, that could be a way. But let me tell you something. If the Commissioner of Police, Abuja, learned was around the vicinity, I didn't see him. If that happens, I still get back to what I've said earlier, that if you must come and secure me in my house, I should be given information. I should even be giving about, you should give me your mode of operations for me to agree, except I have some hidden agenda. And why the hooded men, for God's sake? What are criminals?